Buddy, we've got a couple of people trying to sign in and get their surveys. Has everybody who needs one got a survey? Okay, welcome to the May Community Colloquy. We're happy that you came. And you might recall that in our recent play called Grounds for Murder, we killed off the alter ego name of the executive director of the Yellow Springs Senior Center. Her name was Marilyn Cullen. Fortunately, the actual current 3-year executive director, whose name is Carolyn Mullin, did survive that play. So we're happy that she's going to present to us today ideas about the future of our senior center and our new building on our new grounds, which is on North College Street. Carolyn.
Thank you. All right, here I am on a microphone. All good? All right, I'll try to forget it's there. And I will be very glad if some of you have comments, but I will say there's going to be a lot of time towards the end of this for you to ask some questions and make some comments. I kind of want to stick with the flow, but if there's something where it's just like, whoa, that doesn't make any sense, let me know. But this is where we are right now. This is a really amazing time for the Yellow Springs Senior Center. For over 20 years, the administration and staff of this place has been looking for someplace else to be. This building has been maxed out, even at the moment that this room that we're in was built. So this is our blank slate, and that's kind of a cool place to be. We're not buying a pre-existing building. We're not having to fit into anybody else's standards. So let's start some visioning together. Here's our home. We've been here since 1978. This building was sold to us for $1. Wow. It is our greatest asset. It has been a great boon to be in the middle of downtown. We are automatically, as seniors, incorporated into the life of downtown. We know that that's been a great benefit of being here, and we don't want to dismiss that. And we are ourselves an independent nonprofit. We are not a government agency. We are not part of the village. We are not part of a county group. We were organized in 1959, and we were one of the first senior centers anywhere in the region. And it was Dr. Wesley Matthews. You may have seen our plaque out in front of the building. It's right here. He was our first executive director, and the entire concept of the senior center came out of Arthur Morgan, who, as you probably well know, he always had a vision for what communities needed to be. That was so much of his life's work. So in his vision, we needed to have a way to support each other as we age. So here we are, and let's see what could come next. After we bought this building, we had to add a great room in 1994 to try to expand. We also added some improvements to our fireplace room so it flows much more as a classroom. We've been trying to adapt. Oops. And then we added our patio. Yay. It's not getting a ton of use, but it's expanded our space at least. I think we've done everything we can do with this footprint. So while we've been doing that, the Yellow Springs population has been declining. The population overall is, if I compare to where we were in 1970, I'll show you that in a moment. I do want to point out that we are an age-friendly community. We were one of the first, again, in the region to be an age-friendly community, which is, if you read my annual appeal letter, there's all these parameters that we're trying to address to make sure people live well and age well in their community. But I want to show that this is in reaction to the fact that, and thanks Jerry Sutton for this great set of slides and for the 365 project. McKee, the McKee group, right?
Yes.
Thanks, Kate. So yellow is us, and 1970, our population was 4,624. We dropped consistently. I mean, it's popped back up a little in 2020, but our line is on the decline. Blue and red are the state and the country. Those are both increasing. We're just sliding down. At the same time as this, here's our median age. Look at our yellow line. We're at 53.6 for our median age in this village. And the state and the country average is less than 40. So we're age
To be 53 again.
We also, with that in context, we have double the average number of seniors, double the percentage of seniors per population here in the village. People are aging in place. People are moving here to join their family. People are nostalgic for their college days. There's all kinds of reasons people are returning or coming to Yellow Springs as they age. We're an awesome place to age, I gotta say. So here's the numbers so you can see them more specifically. We've got 65 and over are more than 30% as represented there. And then look at the 55 to 64 is another 15%. So there we go, 55% and more is 55 and older in this town. So you can see, even if there are a lot of people who say they're still too young to come to the senior center. I think they're going to get there. We're also aging really healthy in Yellow Springs. I can say that. I mean, I think a few of you know somebody that's 101, 100. There's a whole lot of folks that are thriving in their 90s. Some of them are in the front row. So here we go again. Now look at our household changes. We always used to, well, back in the 70s, it was common to have an average of close to 3 people per household. And now we're all the way down at less than 2 people per household. It's less common to be in a couple or have a child at home or something like that. So these are people who might not have somebody. They might be aging in place and the kids have moved away. And so what happens here? They're isolated. The isolation keeps increasing. That means they need more services. And our services, Robert can attest to that. I think there've been some record-breaking weeks of transportation requests. I think Stephanie can attest to how many people come in with a crisis because there's nobody that can help them sort out problems they're having at home. We just keep having more and more issues for people that need things. And along with that is socialization. Socialization is actually something that the industry that we're in, social services, senior services, there is a current drive and expectation that socialization is going to be something that could be medically billed in the future. There is a need for people to keep out of depression, to stay physically active. All of those pieces come from having a physical interaction with somebody, not a Zoom call. Sorry, folks on Zoom. Support services aren't just helping people do their Medicare searches. Stephanie helps people figure out financial matters. She helps them navigate services they might be eligible for, including the references to the Greene County Council on Aging. That network provides people homemakers and alert buttons and meals and all kinds of things that we have in our county. Not every county does. But again, the need is growing. We also have our own set of homemakers here. Teresa Bondurant is the manager of those folks. And I think we have 50 plus clients right now that need services in their home. Households, not clients. And then we have our grocery delivery program. And if you haven't yet met Maggie, Maggie's managing that right now. And we have typically 5-6 folks a week who want us to do their shopping for them at Tom's because they can't get out or their vision is a problem or any number of things. And we expect that is definitely going. So our incredible Encore Miller fellow, Sarah Beltran, did some stats for me. And she did a comparison of services and classes and needs in 2023 versus 2024. Can I have a guess what the increase is expected to be based on what we've seen in the first 4 months of 2024.
25%.
More than 35.
More than 35,
Well,
well,
let's say more than
so
50.
in 1 year, it is 25%. Did you
Do we get a
cheat?
prize?
So it is definitely already showing just from 1 year to the next, how quickly things are expanding and growing. Maybe it's because we're coming out of COVID, but I think it really is our aging population, people needing to connect more. And again, this is not just services that they need, but it's also the classes that they attend. And I can see lots of you who attend classes in this room. It's a very busy space. So, all right, why do we need to move? Did you know that there's steps just to get into the building? There's steps. We had to stop using our front door because there's steps that we had to, I watched somebody do a somersault coming up the stairs in our hallway. It's not senior friendly. And we don't have sufficient office spaces. Pam and Stephanie have to trade off at noon. There's a changing of the guard, one desk. There are no private spaces for consultation. Somebody comes in to meet because their family's in crisis. Stephanie closes her door, but you can still hear the murmuring in the hallway. It's not a secure place to have those delicate conversations. We don't have enough classroom space. We have people that are offering to teach us classes for free. We don't have a spot for them. It's just amazing to me how many people volunteer too. If you haven't heard my bragging rights, 176 volunteers we have here at the center. Pretty amazing. So we also have storage beyond capacity. If you look to the side of the room, you'll see where we're overflowing in every direction. And parking. I don't know how well all of you found parking this evening, but and I had a bit of a tantrum last week, scolding people away from our parking spaces that weren't supposed to be there. It is by far the most important thing we need to add so that there is enough handicap spaces and there are enough spaces all around for people to walk within just a block or so. I did meet with the village last week and Johnny assures me he's very comfortable with the plan of providing slant parking along East North College and Livermore. So that provides us a lot of spaces. It will also be a more safe way to park, to pull in and out. And when you're getting out of your car, you're not opening your door into the street. So we may have to pursue a parking lot, but let me show you a little bit more about the spot where we're moving. I do want to point out though, what we're going to do is a fully accessible building. There's never going to be a step if I have anything to say about it. And even the bathrooms will be not a door to push or close behind you, but a secure wall to walk behind. So this is the land we just bought. We have purchased it from Antioch College. The lot is at East North College and Livermore. For context, the Coretta Scott King Center is down low here. The Wellness Center is 2 blocks south. And Xenia Avenue is over at this site. So we bought a lot which is half an acre. It's 150 square feet by 150 feet by 150 feet. And we are hoping that we might be able to fit a 10,000 square foot building on that. For context, the current building we're in is 3,700 square feet. So we'll make an improvement, I think. Here's your walkability. I'm hoping it's walkable for most of us. It's 0.4 miles from where we are right now. And walk around. Right here's the library. So if you walk to the library, we're just a smidge away. Some of you live within a block of this, I know. So that site has, as you see, lots of potential street parking wrapping all the way around it. I don't yet know what's going to happen with the lot, which is immediately to our west. That is owned by the Emerge Center. I'll show you more about that.
What center?
I'll tell you.
What center?
It's called the Emerge Center.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's some pictures from our fantastic eclipse party. We had so much fun celebrating times together on that land. You will, if you drive past on East North College, you will see this sign, so you can get some context of where we are. And here's a view of people enjoying the lawn and looking up at the eclipse. I hope everybody in this room saw it. And then this is the view from Livermore looking towards West Hall. So West Hall is the building which is, it's actually based on a Harvard design of buildings. And it was built in 1928, 22. Jerry's been doing a lot of research on the history of it. Yes, it's a fantastic old building. And that building was purchased by the Emerge Center. That's the group that also bought the Greene County Career Center. They are doing recovery and trade initiative is what it's called. People that are in recovery from any sort of addiction can go through their programming. They get treatment, all kinds of therapy, housing, and they come out of it with a trade that they have learned. So those folks that have been through a part of the program, be aware Alaska's making a round if anybody's surprised by a dog. The folks that have finished the first tier of recovery are now permitted to live in what is the dormitory, West Hall. So they've just moved in this week. So we're really glad to be integrating them into the community and can imagine a lot of great partnerships of people looking for volunteer work. I think it's about the best neighbors we could have. They also did then purchase their building is on one solid acre. So basically there's an empty half acre between West Hall and the land we purchased. So we're also talking about what we can do with that space. We'll see if we've got some options. So a few more little facts there. Like I said, it's 150 feet by 150 feet. It is currently zoned E1 education. That's because we bought it from the college. And having met with the college, I realized that E1 zoning requires a 40-foot setback.
Whoa.
Boy, doesn't that eat up our land.
Yeah.
So it's encouraged by the village that we would request R3 zoning and may also ask for a variance so that even our roof line could come out further. So those are the sorts of pieces that we're just trying to pull together. There are trees on that lot, but we've been through with the tree committee and Tom Degenhardt's been a great volunteer with landscape experience. They're not worth saving. Sorry. I'm watching for pickets to arrive in the front of the building. But they really have, their trees have been there doing nothing, having no care, and they're gonna go. But we will plant new ones. Macy's already promised me that we'll get some great memorial trees available through the tree committee. And I already mentioned that slant parking may be permitted. I better do a little shout out. Yes, Paul.
What's the size of the current property? It's going to 150 by 150. What's the current size?
The building we are in is 3,700 square feet. So what is it?
Square?
No. It's any guesses? I don't have the exact, sorry, Paul. I did want to shout out, while I mentioned Macy, I did want to let you know that I attended the Senior Palooza today, and during the Senior Palooza, it was announced that Macy Reynolds, our former board president, is the Greene County Senior Citizen of the Year. So if you don't know, Macy does tree committee. She does the women's park. She was board president here until a couple of years ago. So thank you, Macy, for all you do. All right, so here's where we are. We've got a starting lineup. Amy Maruyama is here in the room with us, middle there. Amy has been hired as our capital campaign consultant. the Green County Community or Yellow Springs Community Foundation provided us the funds to pay for her since we haven't started really fundraising of any sort yet. And Amy has been instrumental in figuring out what steps we need to go through, what the goals need to be, who we need to be in touch with. And so she and I meet pretty much once a week and work on the details. The other great shot is an incredible team that's helping with building evaluations. And that's Tom Degenhart, Jerry, say it, Papania. Did I say it right? Papania? Papania. Richard Zopf, Wayne Goulden, and Jerry Sutton. So they've all been very helpful in evaluating what we're gonna do. That was us touring the Springfield Senior Center. If you haven't ever been up to the Springfield Senior Center, it's great to visit. Please don't set any expectations. We will not have a swimming pool. We will not have dual pickleball courts. We will not have the bingo hall that's 3 times the size of this room. But it's an impressive place and they've just moved in. They moved in 2018 and completed the renovations just in the last couple of years. So, all right, now we're getting to the meat of what you were here for. What are we doing to plan a new facility? First thing is building concepts, and that's what you're here for. Help me come up with the concepts. Like I say, we're a blank slate. We can think about all kinds of inventive things to do to make the senior center our own. We're going to come up with these concepts. We're going to put them out with committees to help sort it out. It's the building committee. It's also the capital campaign committee that's helping reach out. Hopefully there's some big donors out there that want to voice their input with their dollars. We'll see how that goes. We're going to start architect proposals pretty soon. Amy's been helping me prepare what's called an RFQ, request for qualifications. That's when we put it out there to see which architects are interested in bidding the project. And then to a more select group of those folks that respond, we will do an RFP, request for proposals. And then we'll be able to gather again with some of these ideas to see what we think of what architects are thinking for us. Along the way, we start fundraising. But, you know, it's a broad reach to begin with. We're not doing little tiny events like raffles just yet for the building. It's going to be bigger numbers than that. So we'll be gathering again, do some design review, revise the plans as we go. Then we'll fundraise again. And then we'll start construction. But when we have a plan we like and we've raised enough money, we don't have to have all the dollars in the bank yet. We might have pledges. We might take a construction loan as long as we know we're on a good path. So the construction could get started. Everybody asks, when are you digging? When do you start? 26, 27, 20. I think 28 is about as realistic as we can be of when we could be in this building. I would love to have some sort of camera system so everybody can watch the construction as they go, but they'd have to put in some donations to get a link. You know, we have to be creative with some of this. Then after construction starts, what's next? Fundraising, you're so right. And selling this building. So the final cap off of being able to afford this is whatever we can get for the market value of this building. Some people have said we should sell the building now and start leasing it back, but it doesn't seem like it needs to be an issue at this point. So funding sources we are going to have, though. We've got all kinds of events we get to have, challenges between different groups. There will be broad community fundraising because it's not just the seniors that need this building. Remember that this building is going to be around for a few decades. We're going to be fundraising from the people who are 30 years from retiring. Those folks should also have an interest in this space, and they already do. They're attending classes here. We have plenty of people in their 20s and 30s coming in to have fun with us. There could be naming rights of both the building as a whole. I have some acronyms in my head for some people in town if I, need to broadcast, start pitching to a specific person or two, but also rooms. There might be a group who would like to say, the tree committee would like to do a room of the senior center and put our names on a plaque. Let's get creative. Think about a group that you're a part of that might like to. The mahjong room. We'll do the classic tiles, the bricks, the other things that you see when you want your name on something. We'll be writing grants. There are quite a few organizations that do fund capital projects. And we have started to have some good contacts about that. It's not just a little bit of work though, and that's where I'll probably be having to pull in somebody that's my assistant, because I can't do all this while I'm running this place. Again, we'll be selling this place, and I wanted to specifically point out that we are not a municipally funded place. The village is not participating in this unless they want to, but we do not get tax dollars. We do not directly get levy dollars that the Greene County Council on Aging has. We do get a granted amount that supports our operations every year. But we can't write a school levy to get this funded. We don't have that sort of flexibility. It's going to have to come from us, and we're the ones doing it. So what are the requirements? What are those stipulations that we have to follow? Anybody have an idea of something? ADA, well, that's true of any building made now, actually. If
Are you planning on having it LEEDs compliant?
yes, we will do that. It's not required.
No, okay.
Is there anything
What was the first name?
leads, like a green building,
The other one. First AD.
ADA compliant?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, here it is. None.
Oh.
You can put a table outside on a sidewalk and say, this is our senior center. So let's just keep that in mind. Get creative. Think about interesting ways that we make the center feel like what we want it to. Here's a few examples. If you looked at our website, Pam on our website has posted a few examples of senior centers that have been created in other communities. This one at the top right is actually constructed in Utah and won a design contest.
I bet.
But look, it's got stairs.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Xenia Senior Center also has stairs in it, but you have an elevator as well. So, yes, yeah, there are still steps. Steps are fine as long as you have an elevator as well. Ironically, actually, Xenia's it's part of the YMCA. They have stairs that go up to the walking track, and they said that'll be fine because anybody going to the walking track can walk.
Well,
No, they can't necessarily. So there's people who haven't been able to use the walking track at Xenia. So these are two other concept drawings that have been done by 4 senior centers. I'm not actually sure if these were constructed yet or not, but they're fairly recent designs. And this is just that concept. Think big, think bold. This is way too small. I apologize. I do have printouts of this, but I was afraid everybody would say, oh, here's the designs for the senior center. No. This is San Diego County is one county that has done extensive research. They've had a 174-page report that I've got about how to design the right senior center because they have all sorts of money and all sorts of people. And this is just their quick diagram of what the senior center of the future needs. We're not in California. We can't do quite as much outside as they can. But this is just to let you know, this is the sort of guidance that we have as we go forward. I'm not going to delve into too many details, although I do like the shuttle bus. So here's what we're planning for. More and larger rooms for programs and classes. And I gave you all that handout that's like a long chart of room. This is where we're starting. Some of this came out of a report that was done in 2011. It was a research study done for the center when we were evaluating opportunities to move. So we based it on that and have expanded a little further. But I think it's at least a good working starting concept. It comes up with about 9,000 to 10,000 square feet we need under roof. Obviously, we want to reduce. Really, we want to eliminate all physical barriers to participation, increase our parking, have sufficient office space. And of course, that could be insufficient within 5 years as things change. So it may be that we need to build flexibility. We want more areas to gather and socialize. We really get crushed at the front sometimes. LEED certified is what Luan mentioned. I never remember the acronym.
No, me neither. Something with energy in it.
Engineering, leadership and environmental, and engineering design.
Thank you, thank you. And basically it's green design. It's well made. It's going to be sustainable for the environment. It's typically both the construction process and the existence of the building are environmentally friendly.
There's 3
Yeah.
different levels, I think. Yeah, so just because it's LEED doesn't mean it's top of the line.
Correct. There's like all those LEED numbers that you can get added. I don't know where we'll be. That'll be up to an architect to pitch how far they can go. And then extending our hours would be great. 9:30 to 4 doesn't work for the folks that still are working. It doesn't work for the folks who, when they finish whatever they're doing for the day, would like to do an exercise class. We do have some evening programming, but not much. And we would like to expand that. At least I say so. I'm waiting for the staff to go, no. Some of the design requirements we'll have for the exterior. We're going to have a drop-off location with a vestibule, a roof, more of an airlock system, so we're not freezing everybody at the front desk. We need windows going into all the offices. Our staff has suffered in little mole holes around here. And we want natural light as much as possible. If you've seen the homes or Mazu that has a solar tube, it's a beautiful way to bring natural light into a space. That's not that difficult, especially if it's in the initial designs of the building.
And it's sustainable.
It is. It brings in, sometimes you don't have to turn on the light. At my mother's house, she has several, and you go into the bathroom and you keep trying to turn off the light. And then dedicated parking spaces for our own vehicles. Right now, if you didn't know, we have one that has to park down the street. So, and very soon we'll have car number 4 in the fleet. Here's some possibilities to think about. Solar panels, electric car charging, having a patio, having some raised bed gardens, having some spaces that people sit around under an umbrella like we have here. We want walkable paths. If they're not actually on our footprint, we want to at least assure that there's a lot of comfortable walking opportunities. And adding an emergency generator, not just for our own use, but possibly being able to use it for the entire community. We could be an emergency shelter space. And I think there's a lot of grant potential to be that place when, as we know, there's a lot of climate change activity. A lot of times people are out of power. So the requirements we've set for the interior, and it needs to be really friendly. Somebody said cozy. Cozy is a good word. When we visited the senior center in Springfield, they referred to it as feeling like a student union. And that was a nice description. You felt kind of cool walking in there as opposed to, oh, what are they doing? Nothing's happening here. We need to have a sprinkler, fire suppression. That's just good safety measure. We want to have separate climate controls for each of the zones of the building. And we want a great room. This room's fine, but I think many of us were here when Heartstrings performed in December and it was shoulder to shoulder. And obviously there's a demand for more large gatherings. There's always the potential of adding some sort of room divider to a space like that. And that's something that needs a lot more research because Xenia put that in and they're not happy with it at all. Yeah,
Caroline, you don't say anything specific about the kitchen.
I will.
Oh, okay.
We need a lot more classrooms. We could easily fill 3 or 4 classrooms simultaneously here. We have all kinds of times that people are waiting in a hallway for one class to finish so they can zoom in. We need a separate conference room because having professional conversation is much more important than just pulling out a couple chairs and a card table. Again, sufficient office spaces. We're gonna do a game room. Even though when that survey was done in 2022, people said, I'm not interested in it. Ping pong has been found to be neurologically important for people with Parkinson's disease. Thanks to Macy again for that. And billiards, as much as you all might think you don't want to play it, somebody does. And it becomes a really wonderful gathering space for folks. So possibilities for the interior, like I said, emergency generator and being potentially a storm shelter. We're already a storm shelter here. So it would be a nice model to follow. We could have a performance space. We could have a stage or at least a raised platform. Some people would like to have a coffee stand. Don't know, I guess we're moving away from the coffee shops. So maybe that would be a nice thing to do. Having a real lounge for drivers. Having a space where in between rides or while they got here too early or something happened, they can relax and read a magazine without having to be in the midst of everything. I think we'd like a staff break room.
What's that?
And a computer lab would be great. 10 years from now, it might be obsolete, but it would be at least a nice starting point. So Andre asked about kitchen, and I'll have to see when it must come up in my slides later. I'll just talk about it now before I move on too far. Springfield Senior Center illustrated an idea that I hadn't hit before. Commercial kitchens are really expensive. They're hard to staff. They're often impractical because they're so expensive and there aren't many places that can run a full operation. But what Springfield has is a catering kitchen, and other groups bring food in and warm it there and serve it there. So we will definitely have a kitchen, and we may become an event space enough that we would like to have all of those big ovens and ways to wash things. We don't expect to make the sort of commercial kitchen that we'll be loaning out or leasing out to professional chefs to use on occasion, but a sufficient kitchen for certain. All right, so we've already got some things in town that we don't need to compete with. We've got a wellness center, they've got the pool, they've got pickleball, they've got all those things. We've got a pretty phenomenal public library that'll just be a couple blocks down the way. There are coffee shops and restaurants in town. Now we could, again, think about doing a little coffee stand, some sort of bar. Actually, bar. At the Ohio Association of Senior Centers, there are places that do bourbon and bingo. And man, it's well attended. We've already got a great movie theater in town, so we don't have to fulfill that role. And of course, there's already great grocery shopping options here in town. So we don't have to, some senior centers actually do some sort of helping people get their convenience items out of the center. Okay, so meal service is one of the pieces we could offer. We, until COVID came, we twice a week served lunch here. It was brought in, the Senior Resource Connection in Dayton would cook the meals, and a local person would be staffed to manage the meals and serve it. People were asked to pay a donation, but they didn't have to. It was a low-cost way to gather and have a healthy meal. Senior Resource Connection is not resuming that program. I've been asking them for 3 years. And so that is something I would love to see happen again. It might even be something that we can revive here in town if I can find the grant dollars and get some local restaurants to start catering more of that. We do have our potlucks happening. So if you're feeling nostalgic for some of those meals, join us on what is typically the third Thursday. I think it's the fourth Thursday this month. So next week, Thursday at noon, 11:30. Yeah.
On the slide before this, they showed you, are you thinking that we won't have exercise classes and things since we have the wellness center?
We already have exercise classes
I know
here.
we do, that's
Why I was questioning it. Will that be cut?
No, we will still have exercise programs. But what we will not do is build a fitness center. We won't do the exercise bikes and weight machines.
Okay.
Many senior centers do provide those as part of their service, or walking tracks or things like that. So ours is gonna continue with our yoga, Tai Chi, all, we even have, we might be adding Pilates soon. And by the way, almost every instructor we have is volunteer, and almost every class we have is free. I mean, I think a month from now, we'll be able to say again, every class is free. So it is very much a community center. So meal service, I would love to see revived. How about having some food trucks come? I think this could be kind of fun, maybe in place of the catering. Adult day service is desperately missing in this county. There are 2 facilities that offer it, and none of them are on this north end of the county. Clark County is experimenting with adding some adult day service to their own center. But that would give people an opportunity to, the caregivers get a break, and those that would otherwise be stuck at home get some socialization. I'm sorry, I didn't click that in. Shuttle service. It's big vision for me, but there are federal dollars out there for this sort of service. And we could collaborate with the village, Agraria, that needs people to get to them. The Emerge Center is open to the shuttle service for them. And just imagine getting all over town to get to your shopping. So that's something that's already in conversation with lots of different groups. And it might be something that's a for-profit enterprise that the senior center runs. It might be something that the village runs as a for-profit enterprise. We could bring in other nonprofits to share some of the space. I'm going to ask if the Greene County Council on Aging would like an office for their care managers to be able to stop and check in. But there are other nonprofits in town that don't really even have an office space. Might be able to share some of our resources with them. An example of that is the Historical Society. They don't have any permanent display. They gather in this room for their presentations. I would love to have a historical wall of Yellow Springs that people could come in and, as they're visiting the senior center, reflect on what's been wonderful or not so wonderful here.
The Victoria Theater has a beautiful historical model, a timeline of Dayton.
Yes.
And their building.
Right, and that's definitely,
Yeah.
we have some concepts in mind for that. We need to keep having more books about how to be a good caregiver, books by local authors, books about our health. We kind of cram a few of them into this bookcase over here. There's some in the front, but we really have not been able to build up a great library to loan out to people. Okay, so now I go wild hair ideas. Ready?
Yes.
I learned this one from the senior center in Findlay, Ohio. They are making an incredible amount of money out of this. It's their most popular thing. A massage chair. They take reservations and they're booked nonstop. So that might be kind of fun. They actually have a massage chair and a massage table in the one room, and people book it with their friends. And they hang out with their friends and visit, relax. I don't know, could be fun.
Love it.
So several people have mentioned it would be really nice to have a fireplace. So once I get Kirk Reichley, our insurance fellow, to go along with it, we'll see what we can do.
I don't know if that's compliant.
Toss it out as a challenge to the architects. And then Joe Ayers here in town is still holding on to some of the items that came out of the old Yellow Springs Railroad Station. And so he's got the ticket window. And some of the windows that are in this building right now are out of the old railroad station. And we would love to see a way that we can incorporate more of the salvaged pieces of our history into this building. Springfield also did that with their old Memorial Hall. When you go into their, I don't remember what the room was for, but it was a classroom of sorts. It has beautiful stained glass on the ceilings and all sorts of little touches in the room. All right, so this is where I toss it to you all. And I have my Vanna White, Maggie Dean, who will take down notes if you guys have them. We also have a microphone if somebody would like to speak up more specifically about something. But I would love to hear some of the ideas you've been cooking about your favorite concepts.
Will there be a basement?
There could be. We have not done a full examination of what was in that space before. There had been tennis courts at that spot, and then the president's dorms were in that spot. So we don't know if the debris was tossed down and is too much of an issue, but it would be a lovely place to be able to stash the utilities and maybe make a storm shelter in the basement and storage.
Just be sure and get a geological thing of that area because they have a lot of sinkholes and that's been studied.
Yes, we're very fortunate. One of the folks that's on our building committee is Richard Zopp, who knows the spaces very well. We will obviously do thorough examination, but so far that land has not shown sinkholes, that space, so.
So I have a question, just because to help me visualize the space that we're in now versus the space we were going to. And I'm picking out the great room. 3,000 square feet. How many square feet is this room? So I can get an idea of what that is.
Do you remember Pam? Pam just did a measurement recently.
900?
No, I think it's.
It's probably, yeah, I think Carmen's guess is about right, maybe 1,200 square feet. But yes, we're looking at a
That's
space
helpful.
that's double this.
Okay.
That helps.
Yes, Pierre?
As much as we hate them, are we gonna make room for lawyers?
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 In terms of making the plans, or are we gonna let them in the building? Welcome in this room, so.
Why don't you use the back door?
Well, that.
Lawyers.
And I was thinking also of medical people. Yeah,
In terms of having them within the building?
yes, and people in social services.
So you're saying having more resources, like somebody for legal consultation, medical consultation. It would be wonderful to do more of those clinics. A lot of that's provided by the Greene County Council on Aging at the county level. They did, for example, give us a pharmaceutical expert that came last month to talk with the community. That sort of thing, we would like to have more opportunity, especially in the small group discussions. I think it's intimidating to come into a space this big and ask a lawyer a question. But if you get the conference room, kind of like meeting with Artie, those of you who have done ethical wills with Artie, it's a nice intimate conversation in a small space. It's not, but yes, I would definitely love to bring in more experts.
And we almost touched on it a while back, but what about a bar?
You know, it's not prohibited. It's something we could definitely explore. As people said during the Ohio Association of Senior Center meeting, most of the people that come in are over 21.
We have drivers.
Yes. That's what the syllabus is gonna be. Patty.
I think it would be nice to have
Hangout space, a living room with, it doesn't have to be like
a real fireplace, but they make nice, electric fireplaces.
fine to look at.
But just to, like in general, this building, you come for something and then you go.
Yeah.
So you're not just hanging around together. So I think that would be a nice thing to have.
I absolutely agree. We tried that a little bit in the fireplace room for a few coffee clutch gatherings. It was still awkward in that space. It wasn't made for that. Yes, definitely a dedicated social space. Carmen?
So Caroline, with 10,000 square feet, you all one floor, is this multi-floor, was it an elevator?
Our concept right now is to keep everything at one level. Elevators, as we've been informed by some other developers, would add approximately $300,000 to the design. The Springfield Senior Center built their structure in a way, or at least the building previously had been designed in a way that it was structurally capable of sustaining a second floor. And that might be something we want to tell an architect. Maybe we'd like to say, when we expand, we're going to expand up. So that's certainly the sort of thing we can insist on. Over time, several people have talked about whether or not we might incorporate apartments into this. If you don't know, we already own 2 apartments that we lease above this building. They're not user-friendly. I think there's 17 steps to get up to those apartments. There have been lots of conversations I've been a part of in town about getting other apartments in the area. And of course, we will be near the new apartments that Home Inc. is building behind the new fire station. And Friends Care is hoping to have more residential opportunities. So I have not considered apartments a priority in this, but that's why we're a membership. If this group says, I'm only behind this if you build 3/4 apartments above the center, then maybe we need to figure it out. And speaking of what you have in your hands, this survey, this is the survey that was done in 2022. So many of you will say, I already did this. It doesn't hurt us that you do it again because we're starting fresh. I was going to design a brand new survey, but I looked this over and went, no, it's still kind of the same info we want. So I think we'll be getting more data about what the community is looking for. But as an augment to that, then there's this other page about what do you envision? And I'd really love you to give some thought to it. I don't think there's any rush in any of this. Amy's been helping me pull together the plans for the RFQ, RFP, and I think architects are going to want that rough data in about a month. So give some thought and get back with us if you would. But
So hopefully there'll be a paved area around the building, right?
well, it's tricky. I'll go back to our lot space. Lots of pages. So do you see, it's represented here that there's an alley around our building. And we would love to use that alley as a driveway. And we might even have 2 different drop-off spaces. And then you'll see there's an alley here that we would love to use, but the building is built on top of the alley, which is not unusual for Yellow Springs. So we're not sure what we can do to fix this challenge, but yes, ideally we would have at least a walking path around and hopefully a way that our cars are also able to go in a one-way route around the building for ease of drop-off.
So we're not backing out
Yes,
into the street.
Peter.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
concerned about people getting out of their cars and having to walk to the building as well, because I don't remember there being a sidewalk.
There's a sidewalk all the way around, but on the
Yeah,
ex, on,
Livermore, is there one on North College?
yeah,
It's not in good shape though.
it needs some love.
I also, I know I've talked to you about this before, but a sheltered bicycle space.
Yes, Vanna will put that up. Bicycle.
Look, Mom, on the speakerphone. Veteran services, is that a direction you might consider going?
Veteran Services does a lot of standalone work. They have their own office off Ledbetter Road. We can invite them in for conversations, but they don't do much of going to visit other senior centers other than doing presentations. It's been my experience. But we do help, including Stephanie can help with some of those documents that are necessary.
I say that because the VA has taken a short turn to member services. And they are working very hard to make the members together.
And it really does come out of their Ledbetter Road office rather than a senior center. I wish they would fund our transportation and things, but they do their own. Yeah, Macy.
A speaker system throughout that you might also be able to do some music because a lot of things about Alzheimer's and, relating to the music that we would have a way to do that somehow.
That'd be great. Love it. And then have any of you been in an office space that has the white noise machines?
Yes.
Those are very nice, especially if you're in a classroom setting and you're trying to have a private conversation.
It'll be an ionizer.
Oh. Kate.
Lighting. That there will be very serious consideration about no fluorescent or human friendly lighting. Because we all know how it affects us, so. Yeah, lighting.
So those of you who are with us on the Springfield walkthrough, can you describe the lighting? I don't know, it was LED or Jared, can you describe that more of what it was offset?
Well, any lighting that goes into the new building will be LED. You can adjust it with color and intensity and all kinds of things.
And they had these fairly attractive scoop coverings over them that meant, yes, so it was a softer light, not just in color, but also in multi-directional. Yes, Jane?
So I get a feeling you probably already looked into this, but there are mobility device friendly escalators. As opposed, if you're wanting to, or thinking about doing. Or the good thing is that when the electricity is out, you can still use them as a stairway type thing. But they do make them that have the ramp spaces for wheelchair users or walkers. A lot less expensive than.
Does the person remain in their mobility device during that transition?
Require a person to assist them in that mobility endeavor, but yes.
Okay. So well, maybe not 20 years ago, we had a tiny elevator in our building here.
Yeah, that's why.
It was a lift. What we found was that people had to be helped in and closed in, and then they raised up and backed up. And that need for assistance, like you're saying, if that person needs assistance to get on it, that's the end game for folks because they want to be independent. I have to say, we have a front desk volunteer that quit long ago because he didn't like having to go outside to be able to get to the bathroom. And I have a new front desk volunteer. She's been here for quite some time, but she's having difficulty walking. And she said, I can't handle those steps to the bathroom anymore. And I'm probably going to have to quit. So, yeah, Jerry.
We talked space before, just to put things in concept.
Can you give him
Our
a
150 lot, 150 by 150 foot lot is 22,500 square feet. We're talking about a 10,000 square foot building. We're at a coverage of 44%, and that doesn't cover walkways, driveways, service vehicles, covered bike parking areas, golf carts, and all the rest of the stuff. So we're gonna have to be very judicious on what we do.
Yes, thank you.
Does that cover the 40-foot setback?
We're
assuming that we're not gonna have that.
We're hoping we can avoid the 40-foot setback and be more like a 10-foot setback. The parameters for parking have been interesting because the village, in all of their parking guidelines, there's nothing about senior centers. probably because they didn't bother before. We didn't, there has been no parking for senior centers. But they are flexible with the number of parking spaces that we need. They're willing to have a conversation about what our maximum minimum numbers are. Handicap spots are a priority. Absolutely. That should be a dozen spaces. I'll just toss that out there. I mean, there's no reason not to maximize the opportunities for handicap parking. And then the possibility is that we may need to make a pitch and build a parking lot if we can get a hold of this property. I've mentioned it to a couple of the owners of the Emerge Center, and well, they're not the owners. They are the folks that formed it. It's a nonprofit itself. And they've been, we'll talk. So don't put that out there too broadly, although I just broadcast it. But that we're at least lucky that we're not as landlocked as we could be. Yeah, Carmen.
Approached Antioch at all about using some net parking spaces? It's not in great shape.
Right, there's a parking spot diagonally that way. The advice I had was that don't build a building based on an agreement with Antioch College because you don't know what's going to happen.
And insurance would be a problem.
It could be. You'd have to have an official lease for the space, which is what Springfield did when they built their building. They put in, if I'm right, 80 parking spaces and felt like they would have plenty for their building. And they have now had to lease a lot to one side and another lot.
Wow.
They went from an average of 1,000 people visiting, or 1,000 members, to 5,000 members with their new building. They went from an average, now I can't remember the numbers, it's something like 80 visitors a day to now 300 visitors a day. Does that sound about right, Jerry?
That's wow, a lot of
And
traffic.
right, and we should expect that. We should expect that when we can offer more and we have more space and it's easier to get to, we're going to have a higher demand.
What about the across the street,
That's,
across North College?
that parking space is owned by Antioch College. Oh, you mean just on that part? That would have to still be parallel parking. As far as we know, and that is going to probably be a residence is what we've been hearing. And they might not like having a whole lot of parking at their space.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris.
Can you clarify about the lot next door that is associated with the merge?
Yeah,
And then they actually own that? Are you saying
yeah,
they own that lot right up to the alley?
yes. When they bought West Hall, it was on a full 1 acre.
I see.
So they haven't confirmed what their plans are, but the Emerge Center's future planning involves having a women's dormitory, even though they have space at their location at the former center. They are also working on the other phase, which is emancipating foster youth. So they really have this vision, and I walked through there with Pam last week, and it's not just a vision, it's happening. It's pretty remarkable. We kept bumping into people in the hallway that had graduated from the program and are working there. And I encourage you to go to the Arise Cafe for lunch. Check them out. Brian, who used to work at Calypso, is now the person running. Sean, thank you. Yes. So it's a great opportunity to see what's happening at the Emerge Center too. Thanks, Jane.
I think you offhandedly mentioned something about an overhang when we were talking about the setback. Where is that going to be?
Well, I'd like the entire building to have an overhang. Try to make it so we might have a covered walking path around the building. That's one piece of it, but there definitely needs to be a covered vestibule so that people can get out of a car, get their walker out, take a minute and not be in pouring rain or a storm. Or ice or whatever
And
else.
where will the senior center cars be parked?
We're not sure yet. I mean, maybe we can get the clearance to use this unoccupied alley space as a parking area for ourselves. And since we'll have to modify our driveway, that's one possibility. Some of that's what an architect gets paid big bucks to do,
Right,
figure out our options.
but I mean, having a covered space is really great
Mhm.
for the drivers.
Yes, for the drivers and for everybody. We can build a carport as well.
Yeah.
Again, yeah. Something triggered in my head, but I missed it. Okay, I wanna. There's no way to fast forward these developments.
You've seen this before.
Okay, you shared your ideas. Just quick, I know some of you might be running out of steam for the day, but how can you help? Please share your ideas and suggestions. You didn't have to share them out loud tonight. That I've given you some papers that you could do it on. You can drop in my office. I'm usually pretty happy to talk with people. If the door's closed, I'm not. But it doesn't just have to be me. I mean, the whole team is on this. We're all on this. Talk with your friends, talk with each other about it. You can complete that survey form that helps us know. I mean, things have changed for a lot of people in just the last couple of years since you filled that out. Let's encourage other people to fill it out. I've got a whole stack of them ready to go. And we can restart it on the website. Pam makes it a link on the website. So we'll be able to get data and know what people are looking for. Provide your feedback, talk about this project, find out who's really interested in it. You can whisper names to me of somebody that really wants to put money into it. And go visit some other senior centers. You'll go visit Beaver Creek and you'll say, well, why do they have all this stuff? Well, it's because that's their Parks and Recs department. We don't have a Parks and Recs department for seniors. We have it for the youth. We have it for the swimming pool. Same with Fairborn, they've got municipal support. Xenia has municipal support. We're the only place in Greene County that does not have municipal support. I'll keep needling the village on that a little, but if you're welcome to give your own time, money, or energy to the project, we've got lots of different ways that we're forming committees. And then you can also think about a pledge. If you want to help us get started, even though we're not officially fundraising yet, you can tell me what you're thinking about doing. We do planned giving here. You can put us in your estate plan. There are all kinds of ways that you can participate. And there have been some people who have so far, without me even asking, they're writing a check every month for the last several months. So I appreciate all of that giving that's getting us started. Next month, we start paying on the loan on our land. I should have clarified this. We didn't buy the land outright. We took a loan against our endowment. So we have a comfortable amount coming into our capital campaign fund to begin paying for the loan. Over time, we'll pay it off and own the land outright. But it was a nice situation for us to be in that 20 years ago, when this community started looking for a new senior center, they built an endowment. So that's what we're working off of right now. So I hope you'll join in and think ahead for what's going to be here in 20 years. So with that, thank you.